Hello and welcome to the 14th episode of Faith Among Wolves. My name is Andrew and today we're going to be talking about submitting to authority right after this. Hello and welcome to Faith Among Wolves. My name is Andrew and with me I just have Jacob.
Hello!
Yeah, everyone else was busy today, so.
Sadly. Yeah, you just got us two today.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So we are talking about submitting to authority. And the first segment in that is submitting to the ruling authorities, like governments, presidents. In some countries back then had emperors and kings, but this is in this day and age, and the Bible is still relevant today, so we're going to apply it like it's relevant today, because it is. Andrew, would you like to hit us off with the first verse?
Yeah, right after I say that, this could also apply to people like teachers or people like that who are in authority over you, even though they may not be the government per se, but they're in charge. So, yeah. And our first verse is Matthew 22:16 through 21, and it says, "They decided to send some of their disciples, along with the supporters of Herod, to ask him this question. 'Teacher, we know about how honest you are. You teach about the way of God, regardless of the consequences. You are impartial and don't play favorites. Now, tell us what you think about this. Is it right to pay taxes to the Roman government or not?' But Jesus knew their evil motives. 'You hypocrites,' he said. 'Whom are you trying to fool with your trick questions? Here, show me the Roman coin used for the tax.' When they handed him the coin, he asked, 'Whose picture and title are stamped on it?' 'Caesar's,' they replied. 'Well then,' he said, 'give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. But everything that belongs to God must be given to God.' His reply amazed them, and they went away."
So, to us teenagers out there, you probably aren't paying taxes yet. If you are, well, that kind of sucks, but...
I do.
Oh, you do?
Because I have a job, so they
Yeah, I almost have a job. I got, just a little bit more until my birthday, so yay!
Yay!
Yeah, so anyways, yeah, so pretty much, even though taxes suck and cost a lot of money, you still got to do it because it says in the Bible.
Yep, and it kind of leads to a deeper principle too, because Jesus, even though the Roman government was corrupt and cruel in some ways, Jesus was still saying that people needed to respect the government. And so even though the government may have been wrong or corrupt in some ways, they still had to respect it. And so in the same way, we should respect the government, even if at times we may not agree with the leaders who are in charge. We should still respect our government and those who are placed in authority over us.
Yeah.
Would you like to read the next verse?
Sure. So that'd be Romans 13:1-7. "Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same, for he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is God's minister. Be avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Therefore you must be subject, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. For because of this you also pay taxes, for they are God's ministers, attending continually to this very thing. Render therefore to all their due, taxes to whom taxes are due, custom to whom customs, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor."
Yeah, so this verse, it kind of elaborates on that principle, and it even goes further to say that the people who are placed as rulers over us are not only just in charge, but they're actually ministers placed by God over us. And so that's not to say that God necessarily agrees with every single person who's ruled over us, but it does say that the people who are in rule over us have a certain degree of power placed in them to rule. And it says that if you do good, you don't have to be afraid of the rulers. And so as long as you do what is right and good, then you shouldn't Be afraid of the rulers who are over you.
Even if the rulers oppose goodness.
Yeah, although that could take us to a different level.
Yeah. Okay, here's an interesting question. If the ruler is bad, like in ordering subjects to do bad things, should we still follow?
Yeah, so there's a verse in Acts 5:29 that talks about that. And it was when the high priests were telling Peter and the apostles that they needed to stop talking about Jesus. And Peter said, but Peter and the... No, he didn't say that. The verse says, but Peter and the apostles replied, we must obey God rather than human authority. And so even though they had an obligation to respect the leaders from God, they had a higher obligation to obey God over what the humans were saying. And so we should obey God or we should obey the human leaders who are placed over us so long as it doesn't contradict what God says. We have a high call to obey the leaders, but we have a higher call to obey God.
Oh, okay.
So
I hope that clears up some confusion, because I'm sure some of you guys were thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and would you like to read the last verse, Jacob?
All right, sure. All right, 1 Peter 2:13 through 18. Therefore, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether the king as supreme or to governors, as to those who are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and for the praise of those who do good. For this is the will of God, but that by doing good you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men, as free, yet not using liberty as a cloak for vice, but as bondservants to God. Honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. Servants, be submissive to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the harsh.
Yeah, so this kind of touches on that same principle about honor or servants submitting to your masters with fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the harsh. And so even though rulers may not always be perfect, we should still submit to them, even or up to the extent that their laws and stuff don't contradict the Bible.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that brings us to our second point, which talks about something that all of us have to face as teenagers, and that's our parents. And I know sometimes rules from parents can get aggravating, or it seems like what they're telling us to do is stupid or...
Yeah, loving when it's hard, eh?
But the Bible makes it very clear that we should listen to and respect our parents and obey them, even if we don't necessarily agree with what they're saying. And so we've got like a bunch of verses about this.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on this on the loving when it's hard episode, actually, last episode. So I think of this almost as a part 2, kind of. So we're touching more and going more into the authorities figure. Kind of.
And so Ephesians 6, 1 through 6 says, Ephesians 6, 1 through 3 says, children, obey your parents, and because you belong to the Lord, for this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and mother. This is the first of the 10 commandments that ends with a promise. And this is the promise. If you honor your father and mother, you will live a long life full of blessing.
Dang.
So that's pretty straightforward. Then Proverbs 1, 8 through 9 says, listen, my child, to what your father teaches you. Don't neglect your mother's teaching. What you learn from them will crown you with grace and clothe you with honor.
So it's saying, like, if you obey, you will be blessed. And it's very hard to obey. I find very much trouble in this themselves. I actually have this one conflict came up recently, and I'm sure most of you guys can relate. Math. Just math. I despise math. Like, with me, when I do school, I'm kind of more the mental arithmetic guy. Like, I like going to quick answers.
Watch as this turns into math sucks.
But like these long problems of switching out exponents, doing algebra for another algebra equation to solve an algebra equation, that's just one problem. Then I got like 20 more other to do. It's just tiring. And like I said, I was going to quit math. I was done with it. Which I am.
How did that go?
It did not go good. I'm still doing math, even though I don't like it. But then again, it's training your brain, even though I like to think there's better ways to train my brain. It's training your brain in a good way to think.
And solve problems.
Yeah, and to solve problems, which parents know that, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to obey them, even when you don't see how this could be good.
Yeah. And so trust, and that's kind of what this verse in Proverbs says, is we should trust the wisdom of our parents. And when we listen to them and respect their commandments, then it will help us a lot. And would you like to read the next couple of verses, Jacob?
Sure. So we got Leviticus 19:3. Says, each one of you must show respect for your mother and father. You must always observe my Sabbath days of rest, for I, the Lord, am your God. In Exodus 21:15 and 17, anyone who strikes father or mother must be put to death. And 17, anyone who curses father or mother must be put to death. Wow, that is kind of intense.
And this is in the Old Testament under the law. And so a lot of these old laws don't really apply to us anymore. So that's not to say you got mad at your mom and yelled at her, so now you should be beheaded or something. But it does make it clear that we should show respect for our parents, and if we curse them or hit them, then we, under the old law, should be put to death. And so that kind of just shows what a big deal it is that we show respect to our parents, that in the old day, or back under the old covenant, it was a sin worthy of death. And so nowadays we should treat our parents with respect and be careful of what we say to them and try not to hit them.
Yeah.
Most of us probably don't hit our parents very often, but
usually it's the other way around. I hope you don't have any parents that actually hit you, but discipline is actually good. The way you have to tell if you have loving parents is actually through discipline. If they discipline you, that just shows that they love you. Fun fact.
Yeah. And then our last verse is Proverbs about parents, is Proverbs 17:6. Grandchildren are the crowning glory of the aged, and parents are the pride of their children. And actually, when I was typing this up, I made a typo, and I left out the P in pride, making it say that parents are the ride of their children, which is also true. And I thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, so us as children should take pride in our parents.
Yeah.
And get rides from them, I guess.
Just like having our parents drive us everywhere. Anyone can relate.
Yeah. I can get my driver's license in a month and a few days. So yeah. I'm excited for that, though.
Yeah, cool. But actually, it's you've probably noticed that how your grandparents spoil you, and you're probably just like, huh, that's weird. I never knew this until while writing the script, and I found this. Well, actually, I think it was Andrew who found this verse, and I was just like, wow, I didn't know it was actually in the Bible. Grandparents were supposed to spoil their grandchildren. So.
Well, it says they're the crowning glory. It doesn't say spoil it, but
same thing.
So, yeah. So we should listen to the advice our parents give and show them respect and not hit them.
Yeah, definitely don't.
And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about submitting to the church authorities, like your pastor and the leaders at your church. So
Elders.
Yeah.
Okay, first verse is going to be 1 Peter 5:5-6. Likewise, you younger people, submit yourselves to your elders. Yes, all of you be submissive to one another and be clothed with humility. For God resents the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time.
So, yeah, we should show respect and humility to the leaders in the church and everyone else in the church. And that's kind of how us as Christians are supposed to interact with each other, is with respect and humility. So,
yeah, and it didn't exactly say to the church, it just says to your elders. But in this next couple verses, it does say that your elders are the leaders. The leaders in the church are your elders. Acts 14:23, Paul and Barnabas appointed elders for them in each church, and with prayer and fasting committed them to the Lord, in whom they had put their trust. And in 1 Timothy 5:17, the elders who direct the affairs of the church well are worthy of due double honor, especially those work is preaching and teaching.
So, yeah, we should show respect and honor to those who are leaders in the church. And so, like me, pastors or just other people who work at the church who lead, and yeah.
Yeah, so we should listen, obey, and trust in them because they're there to help our walk with Jesus.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was, I think, a shorter episode. I don't know. I'm not looking at the time.
We're 20 minutes in.
20 minutes in. Cool.
That's got to be a record for us.
I know. But this is a shorter episode. There's only 2 of us here, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, and no factor cap. Oh, we actually got 1 email.
2.
1 email saying...
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
1 email saying that liked factor cap.
Yeah.
By
by the way,
Miles.
Shout out to Miles for sending us an email. We really appreciated it and appreciated the encouragement and stuff. So...
Yeah, and he asked a couple questions, and we have a couple pastors in mind to help us answer those questions, but with just 2 of us here, we thought maybe we would wait for the rest of the group, maybe. So, and
also, we didn't make a good plan.
Yeah, to get those pastors in mind to get us here. So, yeah, those will have to wait, but we got another email from another listener, Ashley.
Yeah.
And she's actually emailed us before. We gave her a mention in a couple episodes ago, but she gave us a recommendation on last episode, I believe.
Yeah. Man, I'm not prepared. Let me pull it up real quick.
Oh, and quickly before we do this, I'm going to read the challenge for this next couple weeks. Yeah. Try to show respect to those in charge of your life, whether that means your parents, your teacher at school, your pastor, or even the police or government. Do your best to abide by what they tell you so long as it doesn't contradict to what God says, and try to listen to any advice they give. As people who are older and wiser, and we would do well to listen to what they have to tell us. It says in Proverbs 16:31, "Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained by living a godly life." So, yeah. That's your challenge for this week. And anyways, yeah. I hope that this episode has helped you in your walk with Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, you want to say the whole spiel?
Oh, yeah. And then we'll get to what Ashley said. So... if you have an email like Ashley here or Miles, who we will answer in an upcoming episode, then please give us an email at faithamongwolves@yahoo.com. So that's faithamongwolves@yahoo.com. We also have a phone number. Andrew, would you like to say that?
Yes, it is 571-492-4585.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing with friends. We greatly appreciate it and know that there is actually people listening. Also, we can see the amount of people that are listening to us. And it is not very high. So I sincerely say we do greatly appreciate that you are listening to us, and we hope you stay with us and to help us grow.
Yeah. And so Ashley wanted us to add that when we are, she was adding to the discussion we had about turning the other cheek. We don't have to take it mentally. And so we should have scripture running through our mind so that we can, if people say things to us that hurt us, we should have scripture in our mind and truth so that we can resist the lies that other people say to us. And so we shouldn't lash out with our words, but we should turn the other cheek verbally and mentally and contradict what they say with the truth of the Bible. So
yeah, and that was to like the whole bully scenario.
Yeah, so we have to guard our hearts and minds as well as our physical body.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, thank you, Ashley, for that insight. We greatly appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any more questions, would like to just hear your name in this episode, shoot us an email. If you just say your name, maybe we'll just say, oh yeah, we got an email from so-and-so with nothing on it. It was just the name.
Or 50 emojis or something.
Yeah. Just let us know you're listening at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, faithamongwolves@yahoo.com. Anyways, all right. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and peace out.
Yeah, we will see you next time, hopefully with a few more people. So, yeah, goodbye. Good question, and that is actually answered by our next passage, which is 1 Peter 2:13 through 18. Therefore, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether to the king as supreme, or to governors as to those who are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and for the praise of those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men, as free, not using liberty as a cloak for vice, but as bondservants of God. Honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. Servants, be submissive to your masters with fear, not only to be good and gentle, but also to be harsh. Wait. Oh, I thought there was more. Oh, shoot. I thought we had a verse that talked about that.
I don't know.
We did.
I didn't delete it.
Or maybe... I think I saw a verse on the internet somewhere. Or saw a verse that would have applied.
Okay, well...
let me find it real quick.
Pause for this moment of Andrew typing on the key. Join us for this time of silly Andrew typing on the keyboard.
What was it?
And that was our brief segment in this episode of Andrew typing on the keyboard, which is now replacing Factor Cap. If you enjoyed this and would like to continue hearing it in other episodes, future episodes, then hit us an email at at faithamongwolves. No. No, I'm saying a website. What am I saying? At faithamongwolves@yahoo.com. There you go.
There we go. Third time's a charm.
Yeah.